Okay, let's get started there, folks. Welcome back to another 2 p.m. PST Twitch, 2 p.m. PST YouTube stream. I'm your host, Strange Bear Jim, and today, as you can see, we are going to be getting back into uh, some Pega learning uh, to start off with, and then we got some videos to upload after that, and then we will be doing some Chrono Trigger for this evening's gaming session. So, um, want to keep you all informed as to what's been going on and all that kind of jazz. Um, so I haven't really been, I submitted quite a few suggestions, but I haven't really gotten much back in terms of um, any responses from them concerning the issues that we've had previously. Um, not sure what else that I can really say about that, other than I hope that they review them and kind of take them seriously. But again, that's up to them. They could basically take my suggestions and throw them out the window for all they care. Okay. Um, they don't have to listen to my suggestions if they don't want to, because I mean, that's them. That's their business. So, um, I could say like, hey guys, me having these issues, you're gonna have others that have the same exact issues, that you're gonna have the same exact problems. Maybe address them, but but at the same time, you could have people that are gonna be like, this is perfect. Don't don't change a thing. Um, so I mean, what do you do in those kind of situations, right? You know, if you have a lot of people that are like on, this is perfect. Don't you don't have to change a damn thing. Versus the people that are like, this is the worst thing ever. Maybe you should put some effort into changing this around. What do you do in that kind of situation, right? Um, you know, and that pretty much goes for anything. Bear in mind. So, um, it won't always be, you know, perfect. You won't always have those scenarios where, um, you're gonna have everybody that absolutely loves one particular thing. You're gonna have some people that are gonna be upset about something. Um, Now, obviously, certain matters are, you know, should be a no-brainer, but let's face it, in today's day and age, everybody has their own opinions, and well, um, even though some of it should be considered common sense, um, you still have people out there that still hold to old beliefs, um, and don't want to change, for example. So yeah, it you know it's kind of frustrating having to um, trying to weigh in on that kind of thing. So, or trying to uh, find that middle ground, because sometimes it doesn't always work. Um, you're gonna have you're probably gonna have a couple people that are not gonna be happy with it. So, can you find that middle ground? So, but that's something that, you have to decide on when you start, you know, working on your own projects and the like, right? So, that's something that everybody has to kind of face, you know, when they stop being a kid, become an adult, and they start t tackling larger problems. So, one could hope that they will go towards positive change, but yeah. Oh yeah. So, what is this? What are we doing here? Okay, so um, a little bit about me. I'm working my way towards getting the system architect certification. Okay. The last job that I had didn't really help me out very well on getting it. Um, my authorized training partner that we had teaching us wasn't really that great. A lot of my team members um, went self-study, with, even though there was supposedly a authorized training partner that should have been teaching us everything, we had issues with the man. So it was not ideal. And, well, uh, it is what it is. Okay. Um, I hope that if he ever watches this, for one thing, I don't even know if he understands, what I look like. I don't know even I don't remember. I don't think I ever really turned on my face camera with him. Maybe I did. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been so long ago. Um, but I hope he understands that. Um, you know, the idea of him basically saying, "Hey, it's your computer's fault, not Pega," or "Hey, I don't have the answer to that question, look it up," or "Hey, um, I'm gonna bring in someone else that knows this material better than I do to help teach you," does not convey a lot of confidence as an authorized training partner. Okay, hopefully he works on himself a little bit more so that he can be a better teacher. Okay, because that's what this is all about, being a teacher to others that don't know. Okay, so, um, or maybe he should just not do that anymore. Okay, there's no harm in saying, hey, I'm a bad teacher, I'll just go back into the working class or something like that. I'll just work on Pega on my own time and that. Not everybody can be a teacher. Okay. Um, it's one of the reasons why I didn't really want to be a teacher because I kind of knew that I probably wouldn't have been a good one. So um, yeah. The hopefully if you ever do work for a company and stuff like that, and you have an authorized training partner that is trying to teach you, hopefully you get a really good one that can answer your questions or will look up answers for you if you have a question that they don't really have a direct answer to, or whatever, they want to help you learn. Okay. um, hopefully that happens. Okay. um, but these videos are not meant to be instructor-led training. Okay, do not expect, I'm I'm not an instructor. This is not meant to be an instructor-led training. This is um, my attempts on trying to get, you know, to kind of push myself to get my certification. Um, and in doing that and recording these, not only am I kind of pushing myself to get to that end goal, but at the same time, um, I'm hoping that I have others coming in and joining me in that journey, and maybe helping me answer the questions, maybe putting down some questions yourselves in the comment section or in the chat right now while I'm live streaming, or maybe um, you're a Pega professional or something along those lines, or maybe you work for Pega itself and you take what I say, and maybe try to work on um, building Pega into something better, because you know I'm I found issues with Pega, um, and I do see some positives of it. Um, at the same time, I'm kind of irritated with it as well. In today's day and age, where um, computers are taking, programmers are building programs that will handle jobs faster, um, can, allow for production to be done, more. That is essentially taking jobs away from, someone else, right? And that's what basically Pega is. Um, Instead of having like a 20-man Java development team, you have a Pega development team of maybe, 3 developers, taking over for those 20. So, in a sense, you're basically losing 17 jobs, you know, um, you know, a rough example, obviously, but that's the whole idea behind the whole Pega system. You're building something to, um, obviously make things easier for businesses to develop these programs to, get it out into the real world. But at the same time, you're essentially removing potential jobs from developers too. So it's really it's kind of a scary thing if you think about it, right? You know, you apply for jobs that have, you know, 800 applicants for a single job. It's rough. It's rough. Um, but it's one of the reasons why I'm trying to get my certification. So that I have you know, I that certification is another potential foot in the door. So at least that's the plan. Um, so last last we left off, if you don't already know, we finished off the 2 missions. So we're finishing off um, essentially the 2 modules left in the business architect. Okay. We have an hour and 55 minutes left on the business architect side of things, and then we'll move back and finish off these 26 modules and 23 challenges on the system architect. What I'll do afterwards, I don't know. Obviously, I got this hour of studying, so um, maybe I'll go into full test mode, setting up, additional questions, maybe, try to go back into taking tests, um, going back over certain subjects that I missed. Um, maybe I'll even go off to the senior system architect here to kind of go through this as well. Okay. Um, but here's the thing. Um, this is work that I need to do in order to get to that certification level. Okay. As I showed last time when I took the test, when I took the last here, let me go and get to it real quick. I took the low code app builder extended test, and the second time, and I didn't use the button for feedback, right? I didn't use that for the test. And because I did that, it showed how many questions I missed, from that test. And if you apply that to the certification, you know, I showed the fact that I got under the 65%, um, you know, needed in order to pass the certification. Now, granted, I missed like one question, you know, so I missed like one question more, putting, knocking me down under the amount needed, right? So if I got in like one question right, I would have hit that minimum. But here's the thing. You don't want to aim for just a minimum, okay? Because the tests on these missions aren't going to be the only things that are going to be on that certification test. The certification test is not going to have any of the questions on these from these mission tests and stuff like that. Or if they do, it might be like, changed up slightly, but for the most part, um, it's going to be very, um, you're it'll be changed around a little bit or reworded a little bit or something along those lines. You won't see an exact copy. Pardon me, I need to blow my nose here real quick. Okay, so um, so when you get to the certification, when you get to a point where you feel like you want to take the certification, go over these questions and try to aim for that 100%. Okay, but don't memorize the questions. Remember, don't bother trying to memorize them. Understand the concepts because those are what is going to make or break you on the certification. Okay, you know the concepts and you'll do well on the certifications. Okay, if you try to memorize the questions, that's not going to help you. You're gonna fail. Okay, so it's about understanding Pega, not memorizing the questions. Okay, so um, all right, so um, but for the business architect, we have one more module that we need to cover, and then we will go through the business architect mission test. Okay, and that covers low code app builder, low code app builder extended, the Pega Express introduction, and the architecture and design during the prepare phase. Why they don't have the full-on Pega Express module in here or the mission, I don't really know. Um, I feel like they're really giving you a disservice on the business architect, look up the Pega Express mission. Okay, if you're watching me right now and you are trying to work your way to get the business architect certification, look up the Pega Express mission and go through that. Okay, I'm probably 100% certain that the questions on the certification is probably going to be covering quite a few different ideas from the Pega Express mission, and you'll most likely want to have that um, well in hand when you get to trying out the certification. Um, I swear they give you the bare minimum in this Pega Academy. Okay, it almost feels like they want you to fail the certification. Okay, through the Pega Academy. I won't say that you know that's something that's on their mind, kind of a thing, but it almost feels that way on occasion. You know, um, you pay the money for the certification and they want you to fail, so hey, they get a free $75 from you, or $175 from you. Okay. Now, granted, that $175 is probably going to the proctor, um, yeah, that's doing the test, but still, um, it's it's a bit rough sometimes. So, all right. Let's move on to the architecture and design during the prepare phase. We got 6 topics to cover. A lot of it is quite extensive from the looks of it. 15, 20, 10, 20, 15. So this might be like individual days. DCO, directly capture objectives. So we'll be covering that quite a bit. So, okay. So let's get into case design and go from there. Okay, quite a bit of information here. So we got our work cut out for us. So case design. The first step in the case design activity in the prepare phase is to review the case type backlog and create the case type for each microjourney that has been prioritized for the minimum level product, or MLP. This is important to ensure that you uh, plan and to ensure what you plan to build makes sense. The objective of the case design activity is to create the foundation case types and the associations between them in preparation for the build phase. Now, bear in mind that prepare is the second step in the four phases of the Pega Express. Why they went skipped to the second phase of this and not really cover the first phase, I don't really know. You'll have to ask the people at Pega. You know, I like I said, I feel like they're um, they aren't giving you in there. They are um, you know giving you a disservice on the fact that they're not covering each individual phase, by themselves to you for a business analyst. Okay, hence the reason why go to the Pega Express mission, because that looked like it had a lot more to it. Um, all right. Create the foundation case types and associations between them in preparation for the build phase. Validate the functional scope of the microjourney with the product owner. Ensure that the case design applies best practices from the start. Okay, so um, again, we're kind of past the discover phase, right? Um, so what you're doing here is you're creating the foundation case type. So you're basically saying, okay, We need one case type to do this. We need one case type to do that, and we need to have databases for one. We're going to need a web page for another, or whatever, right? Um, and you need to basically make sure that all that is generated, so that once it goes through the build phase and all the system architects gets a hold of it, and then they can just build what you want from the foundation, from what you've designed, right? Okay, so validate the functional scope of the microjourney with the product owner. Okay, so basically the product owner is going to be like going, okay, I need this kind of product. This is what we're looking for. This is how we want it to, you know, work in this general fashion. Um, so I'm going to work with you, business analyst, so that you can come up with, what is needed, so that the system architects can, build what I want to see, from this overall product. If you don't, um, build a product to what I want, then obviously we're going to have to go back to the drawing board. We're going to have to go back to the discover, because obviously if you're failing at, or we basically failed at um, the discover portion of it all, right? So, and then you ensure the case design applies best practices from the start. So um, you want to make sure that um, you're not putting in anything that is not needed, you know, or you're not adding things into the overall case design that is, that like overloads something. Like you're checking the database every second or something like that to check on details, that kind of thing, right? You don't necessarily want to do that. You don't want to overload the database like that, that kind of thing, right? So you want to make sure that your case design um, works well with what the owner wants, so that when it gets to the build phase, the system architects can take that and go, yep, you're doing it the right way, let's go. If if the if the system architect comes back to you and says, hey, wait, why are you doing it this way? Okay, you're going to cause problems on the web page. You're going to cause problems on the database. You're going to cause problems on the logic of the you know conditional testing, whatever. Okay, then obviously you might not be doing the best practices for case design. Okay, so be aware of um, be aware of what you're building. Talk with the system architects. Learn from them, and um, learn the best practices. Talk with that. Talk with the system architects you know to make sure that they are the best practices. You know, um, because while the best practice for one company might not necessarily be the best practice for another company. Okay. For example, um, or maybe it's based off of region as well. Like maybe there's some law, and maybe there's some regulations in one state that is not available in another state. Okay. I've worked at a company that had regulations based off of individual states. One state had certain set of regulations, and another state had a different set of regulations. Now, some of them might overlap, but you know, certain laws in one state might not, be available in the other state, or might be completely rejected in the other state, or something like that, right? As an example, okay, um, you know, or something might have recently changed. Like for example, maybe you're working in, making a product for something in Europe, right? Okay, or maybe you worked on something in Britain, United Kingdom, right? And so you're working on it. You have um, you're allowing the customer to put in payment information or something like that. Well, now you have to change from, you know, um, the euro back to the pound or something along those lines, right? You gotta make those changes, right? You gotta make the changes in taxes and so on and so forth. So it's one of those things where it's like you have to um, you have to make sure that you adjust for um, what is occurring. So okay, using directly capture objectives, the business architect, system architect, and product owner collaborate to model the case type into stages and steps. This activity breaks down the case type into its component parts. Once the steps and stages have been agreed with the product owner, further discussions define the personas involved in the case type, the data objects you need to complete, and the data objects you need to complete the processing. At the end of the DCO or directly capture objectives sessions, you have a visual representation of the case type to be validated by the product owner. Pega Express uses directly capture objectives. I gotta remember that. Directly capture objectives as a way of collaborating from beginning to end. Directly capture objectives encourages alignment with stakeholders and drives high quality engagement between businesses and IT. You can find more information about directly capture objectives in the Pega Academy topic, directly capture objectives. To ensure case design best practices are adopted from the start, System Architect leads the technical design aspects of the case type within the directly capture objectives session. The System Architect makes sure that the case design takes into account workflow, personas and channels, data, reuse, scale. Now, technically, it shouldn't be just the system architect. Um, I feel like um, I feel a system architect is not um, like the most qualified that you would want to lead in the design, right? Um, you'd want um, you'd want someone like maybe a lead system architect, or a senior system architect, um, to handle the overall design of something. Just leaving it to a system architect, could potentially cause you know some additional problems. Now, I'm not saying completely leave system architects out of the picture, because some of them might have quite a bit of experience programming out the Pega application, but um, one would figure that you'd want more of a lead or senior system architect um, to lead the technical design aspects. Just saying. Now, they might say, system architect, covers, the lead or the senior. But, you know, for those of you that don't know, okay, if you're not quite familiar with that, then, um, basically, as a system architect grows in knowledge, as they learn more and more on how to build something, you know, then you know, then they then they're able to kind of figure out, how to go about, fixing any problems that might come along. And with that knowledge, they, may need to take that, lead or that senior level of experience, and they'll get their certifications on it. But those are most likely the individuals that you'd want to talk to as a business analyst to make sure that um, what you are covering with the product owner is indeed what's necessary to get the job done. Okay. Why are we covering this again? Okay, whatever. In Pega platform, the stage represents a business milestone to achieve through the life cycle of the case. We already learned that. Using stages helps business users model the case type in business terms that reflect the sequence of events, work that must be completed. Yeah. In Pega platform, there are two types of stages, primary stages and alternate stages. Yes, we already learned that. Primary stages organize the sequence the most commonly performed work, often through though thought of as the happy path. Um, Often thought of as the happy path. Um, isn't it often referred to as the primary path? Hold on, I'm gonna take a screenshot of that. That's weird. Um, Pega recommends that you define between 4 to 7 primary stages in a case type, sequenced through a logical progression. Alternate stages capture scenarios that are less frequently seen to resolve the case. Alternate stages often include functions that manage exceptions where the case cannot be completed successfully using the primary stages. Um, Steps. Each stage consists of steps that, when completed, bring a microjourney closer to its resolution. Steps provide the capability to perform specific tasks or processes. For example, to capture data from an end user, send emails, or request and process approvals. Pega Platform has out-of-the-box features to speed up the configuration of the steps. The step organization within a stage identifies the work to be performed and the optional work that can be performed to complete the stage. Oops, didn't mean to go full screen on that one. All right, hopefully that didn't screw up everything. Still looks okay. All right, the combination of stages and steps determines the case flow, and in most businesses there are several combinations of work. Some work may be executed in sequence, some work may be conducted in parallel, some work may be optional, applicable only under specific conditions. At the start of the project, different types of work influence your case design. Based on findings from the workshops with the product owner, the lead system architect considers the technical best practice. Where appropriate, they may decide to create additional case types, for example, to enable parallel work through the means of child cases. Another case design consideration is work allocation, which is discussed and agreed on early in the project. Work allocation defines the way work is directed to the personas that are linked to the case type. Defining the work allocation model requires understanding the business operating model. There are two models for work allocation. Push model. In a push model, the system or team manager manually assigns work to the appropriate user. And the pull model. In a pull model, the user is assigned work automatically based on the set of business rules. I would figure that, the user pulls the work based off of, um, what work is available and, what work takes priority. That's what I would figure would be the pull model, but whatever. Um, if the user is automatically assigned work, then I guess that still kind of works as the pull model. I don't really know. I feel like that isn't necessarily a pull. That's again more of a push when the work is automatically assigned. So that's just me. Um, in Pega platform, the most urgent get next work feature automates the pull model. You can configure the get most urgent feature to automatically allocate work to the right user or group of users at the right time. You can configure the feature or filter work by skill so that users get work assignments aligned only with their skills. So, um, again, this kind of feels more like a push because again, it automatically allocates the work. Um, it's not where you have like a listing of work and the users can look at it and go, okay, I can handle this one, I can handle that one, I can handle that one. Bam, done. That's that that to me sounds more like a pull. But again, I don't know. You know, I'm looking at this and that's what they are kind of referencing. So it's like, okay, I get it. Um, I can kind of understand what they're trying to do for the most part. Again, it's not. It feels a little off though. That's all. Okay. Personas and channels. Using the Pega Express approach, personas are associated with stages within the case type to represent personas interaction through the case. Personas are also associated with channels to indicate how the persona can access the application. For example, by email or by using a self-service web page. Because Pega Platform can associate a persona with a channel, you can cater to channel-specific user interface, UI, and processes to create a user experience that is appropriate to the particular situation. As part of the directly capture objectives, directly capture objectives. As part of the directly capture objectives sessions, run through the prepare phase. The product owner and business architect map the personas to the stages to ensure that business scenarios are covered within the scope of the case type. As part of these discussions, it is important to understand what type of interactions can be formed by the persona within a specific channel. For example, it may be possible to create a claim through a self-service channel, but not by email. You still got a long ways to go and not a whole lot of time left. So apologies on that. Security by persona and channel. Access rights to both the data and the processes are also defined for the case type. Access rights can impact the design of the case type in several ways. For example, exclude work data from specific channels. Separate work into different stages within the case type. Create an entirely new case type. Based on the security requirements, the system architect must decide on the case type design to meet the security needs. Data. At the start of the project, you need a high-level understanding of the data objects linked to the case type to ensure the design accommodates the data needs. For each data object in the system, the system architect must understand the following: availability and timeliness, retention and archiving. The availability of data refers to the source of the data. Some data may be available from external systems. Users may direct capture other data, and some data may not be available. It must be created during the case's progression. Timeliness of the data is how quickly the data can be retrieved from other systems and how frequently the data changes. With ever-increasing awareness of data privacy requirements, the client's data retention rules directly influence the data modeling activity associated with the case design. Identifying these rules up front requires the SA to design the case type to optimize the management of data within the case. System architect. A bank workflow might capture the bank details at the last possible moment in the case to avoid holding bank information until necessary. Additionally, the workflow might need an automatic step to remove bank details after there is no longer a legitimate business reason to retain the data. At the start of the project, identify the key areas in the case type that may be useful to other case types or later MLPs. This gives the system architect information to guide the case design activity during prepare to support reuse of the case type as a whole or parts of the case type, for example, specific processes, data, and the user interface. The best practice is to identify business and technical commonalities. Then specify and design the commonalities as rules or components for use across multiple case types. So if you see something that is can be reused over and over and over again, such as a person's address, like you have the person's address when opening up a checking account, but you can also use that same address when they might want to try to take out a home loan or something like that. So same kind of commonality, right? That kind of thing. So identifying reusable rules and components may impact the order in which the team needs to build the application. The team might need to implement reusable rules and components first, and then build the case type process that references them to minimize overall implementation effort. So think of it this way, okay? You're you need to you're helping out a bank in transitioning from their website to a new Pega platform, right? And they have the like a database for their open accounts. They have a different database for their loans, kind of thing. Basically stating that you don't necessarily need to create a loan and have a checking account there, right? For example, you know, obviously, a bank might want them to have like a checking account or savings account or something like that with their bank, but that might not always be the case. Um, you know, um, so, but they're in two separate databases, and maybe they didn't have like a clean database. Maybe they didn't have like a database that kind of like reuse parts of another database or something like that. Maybe their table design was pretty much shitty to start off with. Who knows? Um, so it might be, you, the business analyst, that looks at this and goes, okay, well, you have the address that's over here, and it might be the same exact address as over here on the loans. The address for the checking account might be the same as the address on the home loans. So therefore, let's create a let's create an object, a case type, specifically for the address, for example, right? So, um, and you can then use that to, you know, um, use it for the checking account, and you can use it for the loans, and it works because it's the same kind of information contained in that, right? So, just saying. Okay. Consider the frequency and volumes of the cases when designing the case type for scale. The scale also considers the interaction of the personas with the case type. Different team members use scale to design the case type. The product owner and business analyst review the workflow to decide on what levels of automation to implement in the case type. The system architect considers the mechanisms of accessing and storing data within the case type, where cases frequently occur and in large volumes. Focus on the case design to maximize straight-through processing to achieve the best possible throughput in the shortest time. Recognizing the case volume drives the initial design conversations to consider the data needs associated with the case types. This recognition highlights the changes necessary to the initial case modeling to ensure that the data access is efficient and streamlined, avoiding undue strain on interfaces and response times. During the prepare phase, note these aspects as user stories and add them to the backlog for further elaboration during the project. Determine whether there is a possibility of personas working on the same case at the same time. If so, be sure to define the associated locking configurations. And then you have the question at the very bottom here. Which four of these elements must a system architect consider when designing cases? 4 out of the 5, huh? Okay. Scale, workflow, personas and channels, and reuse. You don't have to worry about project staffing for designing a case. That has no bearing on the design. So, all right. And that is it for case design. We are at the end of our 1 hour here, so we're going to be moving on to technical architecture tomorrow. So stop on by and we will continue that. There obviously there's going to be a lot of information on this page. Oh boy, I'm probably going to want a lot of water. So tomorrow might be a fairly long video. Just bear in mind. But we'll have to cover that again tomorrow. So be patient. We'll get back to uh, we'll cover all that again. Um, you know, and then we'll move on to the next part. These are some fairly topic-heavy information, so take your time on them. Study them, restudy them. Think of different questions. Create your own questions. Um, find the answers. Create dummy answers that might trip you up. That kind of thing. Do whatever you need to do to understand the information. Okay. Hell, if you're a programmer, program out program out a little questionnaire for yourself. Do whatever you can. But that's it. I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Give a like and subscribe and all that. That'd be fantastic. And that's it. Stopping the recording.